برنامج يور رايتس مع المحامية جومانا كيروز المختصة في قضايا حوادث السيارات، مع نخبة من المحامين في اختصاصات عدة منها الطلاق والهجرة والإفلاس، يأتيكم الآن على الهواء مباشرة. سعدتم أوقاتا أحبائي المستمعين، أهلا بكم في حلقة جديدة من برنامج يور رايتس مع المحامية جومانا كيروز، تأتيكم على الهواء مباشرة، وبإمكانكم المشاركة فيها على الأرقام 313-769-6666 519-256-1023. أيضا بإمكانكم التواصل مع مكتب المحامية جومانا كيروز لكافة القضايا المتعلقة بالإصابات الشخصية، من ضمنها حوادث السيارات، إصابات العمل والأخطاء الطبية، كذلك قضايا الهجرة والتجنس والضمان الاجتماعي. رقم الهاتف في مكتب المحامية جومانا كيروز 248-557-3645. تحياتنا لكم ونرحب بالمحامية جومانا كيروز. جومانا، مساء الخير.
مساء النور رامي، يعطيك العافية. كيفك اليوم؟
الله يعافيك، الحمد لله، إن شاء الله تكوني بخير.
كتر خير الله. مساء الخير لكل المستمعين. اليوم معنا للمرة الثانية هالأسبوع، وإن الله راد بعد تقريبا شهر بيرجع بيطلع معنا بالمرة القادمة المحامي لورينزو دي أغسطيني، اللي هو اختصاصي في قضايا الضمان الاجتماعي والإصابات ضمن العمل، يعني SSI و SSD و Workers Compensation. نهار الثلاثاء كان الموضوع تقريبا كله عن ال Workers Compensation أو ال Workmen's Compensation وأمور أخرى مجاورة لنقول إلى حد ما. اليوم الحديث هو مش عن ال Workmen's Compensation إلا إذا إجينا أسئلة بهذا الموضوع. اليوم بدنا نردد معلومات حكيناها من شهر. هيدي المعلومات ثارت اهتمام من عدد من المستمعين، لأنه في كتير مستمعين عم بيتسمعوا يمكن أزواجهم توفوا، والسؤال اللي بيطرح نفسه إذا هن مؤهلين للسرفايفر لوس بنفيتس، يعني مساعدات حكومية لأنه هن صاروا أرمل أو أرملة، وإذا بحق لهم ماذا هي الشروط. وفي عالم بالجالية متطلقين مطلقين وبهمهم يعرفوا as divorced people إذا بحق لهم governmental assistance، إذا بحق لهم مساعدات من الحكومة إذا كانوا مطلقين، وما الشروط اللي مطلوب منا أو ما الشروط اللي مفروض تكون موجودة. يعني مش كل إنسان تأرمل بحق له بحقوق رامي، ومش كل إنسان طلق بحق له بالحقوق من الحكومة. والحقوق تبع الحكومة بتكون SSD benefits، وبتكون وبيجي معها بعد وقت معين ميديكير، ورح نحكي عن هيدي الشروط كلها. تنطرح الموضوع، عم نحكي اليوم عن widow benefits و divorced people's benefits. مين المتأرملين اللي بحق لهم يجيهم تشك شهري من الحكومة ومن بعد وقت ما بيصير عندهم ميديكير، ومين من المتطلقين كمان رح يجيهم تشك من الحكومة وإذا مؤهلين للميديكير. ورح نحكي كمان عن الادلت disabled adult child benefit، اللي هو لأي طفل صار يعني فوق السن وهل بحق له ياخد مساعدات حكومية. رح رحب بالمحامي، وقبل ما نبدأ بدي أسأله بس عن سؤال سريع بخص ال SSD، وإذا أي إنسان بياخد SSD payments وطلع حكم ضده لدفع مصاري، يعني money judgment، إذا السوشيال سيكوريتي SSD money بتقدر تستعمل مثل ما يستعمل راتب إنسان for garnishment و bank account إلى آخره. هل ممكن إنه الواحد يضيع أو تحط الحكومة إيدها على الأساسي benefits تبعه لأنه في حكم مادي ضده؟ رحب بالمحامي لورينزو دي أغسطيني. Good afternoon, Attorney Lorenzo Di Agostini. How are you today?
Good afternoon, Jumana. I'm doing very well. Thank you, as always, for having me on your show on this beautiful day.
It is a gorgeous day, and thank you for joining us. And must have been a bit of a time constraint for you to offer us twice this week. We very much appreciate it. I presented to the listeners that we will be talking today about a topic we talked about a month ago. It bears repeating because there are a lot of people in the Middle Eastern community and in other communities who are not clear at all on these benefits available to widows. And we're not saying every widow will get benefits, and benefits available to exes, divorced exes, and not every divorced person, will get that. So we're going to talk about these conditions, the requirements. We will also talk about disabled adult child benefits. While we're talking about widow benefits and divorce benefits, we're going to address the topic of if and when they can get Medicare.
Yes.
And generally speaking, when one goes on SSD, when one gets Medicare. But before we do any of that, I want to ask you a question that I had asked you off the air at the end of our show on May 5 last month. We were talking about, what can be liened in if there is a money judgment against somebody. And I did ask you, if someone is getting SSD payments every month and there is a judgment against them for money damages, can the SSD checks be liened, much like when someone is working and you can garnish their wages up to 25% by sending a copy of the order to the employer, who is now required to withhold 25% and turn it over to the court? Can it be considered income for that purposes, and it can be garnished? In other words, are people who are on SSD at risk of ever having, and we can talk about SSI as well, ever having that money taken away? And if so, what is the general rule? And I know, like every rule, there are exceptions to the rule. So what would be those exceptions?
The best way to explain it is this, and I'll start out by saying, generally, you have to be careful that, yes, so, in a lot of situations, if you're not careful, that money can be, shall we say, taken by a creditor. Now, the law says that Social Security disability payments cannot be garnished except for two reasons. One would be past child support payments or back child support payments, or overdue tax payments. So those are the only two types of outstanding debts that can be seized upon through the federal government. Now,
and when you say taxes, you mean the IRS, not the state.
Correct.
Not
yes,
state
correct.
taxes, just
federal taxes.
Just IRS.
That is correct. Yes. Now, the state taxes can file some forms to ask that the government seize those benefits. They generally do not, though. It's been my experience that they usually only the IRS will pursue that. Now, there is something that your listeners need to be very well aware of. So what happens is when the Social Security Administration administers your money, or they supply they electronically deposit your money, or they send you a check, or however it is, generally you put it into a bank account. Well, the creditors will then seize the bank accounts. So although they can't directly seize the Social Security payments, what they do is they seize the bank account in which the payment is deposited.
Oh my goodness, very sneaky. Yes. So the money itself cannot be garnished, but once you put it in your bank account, they can send the garnishment to your bank, and any money that comes out of the bank, that comes into the bank, can be subject to that garnishment.
Yes, that's how collectors get around that rule.
Very interesting.
So you have to be very careful. So, there's ways where people will constantly change bank accounts, or they will have the money given to them on a debit card. There are ways to try to stay one step ahead of the creditors.
Okay. And what about, so that's one way you said creditors
And let me expound on what I said before. So if the government does seize some of your payments because of back taxes or unpaid child support, they do have the ability to take 100% of your benefit. However, they rarely will do that. Usually they will take 50%, or they will negotiate a payment plan with you. It's rare where they'll take 100%, because all that does is put you right back behind the eight ball in terms of having no income and no way to support yourself. So the government is not trying to put you into the poorhouse, but they're also trying to get their money back at the same time. So they will work with you in terms of your lien if you work with them. So it's important that if you have a lien like that, you contact them and you be open and communicate with them, and they will try to work with you.
Okay, what about people who get SSI checks every month? Do they also enjoy a general level of protection from money judgments?
Yes, it's the same way whether it's SSI or SSDIB.
Okay, so this rule is not only for SSD, it's also for SSI. No
Correct.
change. So
Correct.
again, people who get money for a monthly check from the government for SSI or for SSD, generally speaking, they are protected unless they owe back taxes to the IRS and or back child support. Even then, although the IRS and the friend of the court can get up to 100% of what they are owed, they will negotiate with you because they don't want to put you in a situation where you cannot survive, especially if it's SSI, because
Correct.
you need your SSI money by definition. That's why you're given that money, because
Yes.
you have a disability and you are below a certain income level. Okay, very good. However, you also said that one clever way creditors, even in the Bible, creditors are maligned. They're called the tax
right.
collectors,
Yes.
right? And they're considered
yes.
they're considered one of the worst category of businesses out there. So one way around it. However, let me ask you very quickly before we move on. And as you see, there is no shortage of discussions, Lorenzo. Do you agree with me? You're going to agree more and more as you see
Oh,
that.
no, I mean, it
we're
gets
not
very
going to run out of.
very complicated. It's very complex, yes.
Is there any way you can get, and that's my ignorance in the matter, is there any way you can get your SSI payments, SSD payments without a direct deposit into your bank? Can you request? You probably can. I know this is the practical stuff we lawyers do not get involved in because we don't do this. But I've got to think that maybe you can request from the government a check, and then maybe you can take that check and cash it somewhere else and not put it in your bank account, because you're telling me that a creditor can garnish your bank account, just cannot garnish your money. But once it goes into the bank account, is it because it commingles or no?
Well, I'm not sure why, but I think it's because
Okay.
at that point in time, once you've taken possession of it, a garnishment is in order for the government to pay the creditor directly. And so the government will not do that. So the government will pay the individual, and then the creditor can attack the individual or can go against the individual to collect the money. And I think that's how they get around that requirement. But to go back to answer your original question, there are two ways that you can get payments under Social Security. The first and most common way is electronic deposit. So the government will electronically deposit the money into a bank account on a set day every month. Now, that's generally how it's done for SSD. In the past, you could request a paper check, but the government is trying to avoid that, and they're making it more and more difficult to do that. The second way that you can get paid is through a debit card, which is like a credit card, except it recharges every month. At a certain date of every month, the government will redeposit that money onto the debit card. You can think of it like a Visa gift card or an Amazon gift card that has a certain amount of money on it every month, and it will recharge. So that's the second way you can do it. Now, in the past, debit cards were only available for SSI, but now there's a new program opening up where they're slowly allowing people, if you wish, you have to request it, to get DIB or disability insurance benefits, SSD payments under debit card. So that program is now just rolling out.
I see. Interesting. Okay. So there are ways for people who fear being garnished and who receive SSD or SSI payments. There are ways such as requesting a debit card, especially if you're on SSD. You have to request it, and it will not hit a bank account.
Yes. So when you get approved for SSI at the initial, what they call SSI update, so it's a conversation you have with the Social Security Administration shortly after you've been approved for SSI, they will specifically ask you, do you prefer electronic deposit or a debit card? You will not have that conversation if you get approved for SSD. You have to specifically request a debit card.
And if you started by another form, you can still reach out and request that be changed.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that clarification. Let me just quickly explain that. So رامي, قبل ما نحكي عن المواضيع اللي بدنا نحكي عنها اليوم اللي هي الحقوق للمطلقين، الحقوق الحكومية للمطلقين أو للأرامل، حبيت أوضح نقطة عن السوشيال سيكوريتي SSD و SSI. في عالم بيجيهم تشيكات شهريا رامي إن كان للSSI ولا للSSD. السؤال اللي بيطرح نفسه إذا هؤلاء الأشخاص وقام دعوة ضدهم وطلع حكم لدفع مصاري، لنقول كريدت كارد كومباني، إجمالاً it's a credit card company or it's a hospital for a medical bill أو شيء من هالنوع، هل معرضين لأنه صار في حكم؟ بلا حكم ما حدا بيقدر ياخد مصاري، بده يطلع حكم. وقت اللي بيطلع الحكم من المحكمة إنه هذا الشخص اللي بيقبض شهرياً SSI payments أو SSD payments عليه حكم يدفع $2,000 أو $5,000 إلى آخره. السؤال هو هل بحق له للكريديتور، يعني صاحب الجادجمنت إن كان الكريدت كارد كومباني أو الهوسبيتال أو الميديكال بروفايدر، هل بحق لهم إنه يحطوا إيدهم على مصاري الSSI والSSD؟ بيقول المحامي لورينزو دي أغسطيني كقاعدة عامة العالم اللي بيقبضوا مصاري من الحكومة كقاعدة عامة عندهم حصانة، مثل كل قاعدة في إلى استثناءاتها. كقاعدة عامة عندهم حصانة، يعني المصاري ما بتندار إلا إذا ال IRS مش الستيت، إذا ال IRS إذا بدأ منهم مصاري، أو إذا they owe back child support، إذا عندهم child support وبعد ما دفعوا. بهيدا الحالة بالمبدأ بحق للحكومة إنه تاخد المصاري كلها لحتى تعطيها لصاحب الدين. الباك تشايلد سبورت بيرجع للطرف الآخر، الأم أو البي. الIRS بترجع للكريديتور اللي هو الIRS. إجمالاً بحق لهم يحصلوا على 100%، بس ما بيحبوا ياخدوا 100% من المصاري الموجودة، يعني الSSI payments أو الSSD payments، لأنه ما بدهم العالم إنه ما يعودوا يقدروا يعيشوا، بالأخص اللي هن بيستلموا SSI. نقطة كتير مهمة ما كنت عارفة فيها أنا. صحيح القانون بيقول إنه غير هيدول الاثنين back taxes و unpaid child support، الأشخاص اللي بيحصلوا على SSI payments كل شهر أو SSD payments عندهم حصانة، بس وقت المصاري تبع ال SSD أو المصاري تبع ال SSI hits the bank account، وقت بتفوت على البانك account تبعهم لأنه هن عندهم direct deposit، القانون ما بقى يحميهم، لأنه هلأ صار صاحب الدين إن كان الكريدت كارد كومباني أو إن كان الميديكال بروفايدر أو الهوسبيتال اتسترا بحق لهم to garnish البنك أكاونت، يعني بحق لهم يبعثوا رسالة للبنك اللي بفوت عليها هيدا المصاري شهريا ويطلبوا من البنك إنه تسحب المصاري، والبنك بتسحب المصاري وبتعطيها لصاحب الدين. الطريقة الوحيدة للأشخاص اللي في حكم ضدهم وهن على SSI أو SSD إنه يغيروا طريقة الدفع، ما تجي طريقة الدفع via direct deposit، لأنه if it hits the account في كتير 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 احتمال بحق لهم الكريديتورز، يعني that's how they go around it، إنه ياخدوا المصاري. بيشرح لي المحامي دي أغسطيني إنه إجمالاً العالم اللي بيحصلوا على SSI أو SSD بيحصلوا على أساسية. الحكومة دائما بتقول لهم كيف بتحبوا إنه ندفع لك دايركت ديبوزيت ولا بندفع لك باي ديبت كارد، يعني عندك مثل كارد بيعبوها مصاري كل شهر. هون الواحد بياخد القرار. عم بيقول إنه إجمالاً الأساس دي التشيكات كانت تجي دايركت، الدفع كان يجي دايركت ديبوزيت، بس هلأ في بروجرام جديد فتحوه، بس لازم صاحب الأمر يطلبه إنه بحق له كمان اللي عم يقبض أساس دي payments إنه يطلب إنه ينحطوا على ديبت كارد. ليه عم نحكي عن موضوع الديبت كارد؟ لأنه هيدا حل للأشخاص اللي عم بيتسمعوا اللي يمكن في حكم ضدهم واللي ما بدهم إنه المصاري تتاخد من البنك أكاونت تبعهم. الحل لهم إنه المصاري تنحط على الديبت كاردز. سابقاً الأساس دي payments ما كانوا بيروحوا على الكريدت على الديبت كاردز، هلأ صار في صاحب الشأن يطلب إنه المصاري تنزل على الديبت كارد.
إذا ضاعت الديبت كارد جومانا، عفوا عن المقاطعة.
نعم تفضل.
إذا ضاعت الديبت
Please.
كارد هل بإمكان الشخص أنه يستبدلها مرة أخرى؟
I have no doubt about it, but let me double check. Of course, sometimes, debit cards, Lorenzo, can be lost, and I'm sure you can ask for a replacement debit card.
Yes, absolutely.
The scary thing with debit cards, if this is a debit card like any other normal debit card, there is no protection. Like if it were a bank debit card that you got from your bank, right, and there is no FDIC protection, so whatever money is on it, as far as I know, is gone if it gets into the wrong hands, doesn't it?
I would agree so, but I believe most people have a security code, so it can't be accessed without a security code. So I'm pretty confident if you lose your card or it's lost or it's stolen, as long as someone hasn't used the security code to take the money, once it's replaced, you'll still have access to whatever money was left on there.
Okay. Assuming that it's not as easy to use one's debit card, then it can be replaced. Yes. But if it is easy to use somebody's debit card, what's on it is gone. There is no protection.
Correct.
Okay,
and
good.
By the way, I just want to apologize for not saying hello to Rami. I apologize, Rami, for my rudeness.
There is nothing rude about you, Attorney Lorenzo Di Agostini, and I hope that one day Rami will get to meet you personally, and he will be extremely impressed.
I'm looking forward, absolutely.
Absolutely. You both are very similar, gentlemen, extremely professional.
Thank you so
and
much.
Very much appreciate you. Before we move on, Lorenzo, to the other benefits that we wanted to again talk about, benefits available to some widows and widowers and benefits available to some divorced people. Did I hear you correctly back on May 5 when you said when you have SSD, you don't automatically get Medicare. You have to wait. So there is a 30-month wait from the date the government says that you are disabled. So let me clarify. I may get the letter today from the government that I am disabled, but in that letter, they're going to date it back to a certain day. Maybe in my medical records, they determined that 18 months ago, when I had a certain surgery, let's say, I became disabled. So I've already accrued 18 months, and I need another 12 more months, 1 more year, and I will get Medicare. Is that correct?
That's exactly correct. So in the scenario that I like to use for an explanation, assume that I had a heart attack on January 1st of 2021. And that I became disabled after that. So I file for benefits, and it takes a year before the judge hears the case and agrees that I became disabled on January 1 of 2021. Well, my entitlement to Medicare benefits will not begin until 30 months later, 30 months after January 1 of 2021. So that would be July 1st of 2023. That's when my Medicare would start.
Okay. So everyone should know that regardless of when they get approved, the government will tell you what is the exact date they deemed you to begin your disability. And that could be a year or two back. You count from that date 30 months. And that's when Medicare begins. So for the first, using your example, I will get a check every month. I got approved today, a year later. They're going to give me a check for the past 12 months. Moving forward, I will continue getting a check every single month. And in another year and a half, because I've already gone 1 year, 30 months is 2.5 years, let's say.
Yes.
And actually exactly 2.5 years. So I've waited a year. I'm going to wait another year and a half. I will get a very large check going back for 12 months because they said I was disabled a year ago. Moving forward, I will get a check every month. And moving forward, a year and a half from today, Medicare will kick in.
Correct.
Is it Medicare Part A and Part B?
Yes, it is. And then you have the option of paying for Part C. Actually, Part D. Part D.
Part D.
Now, one of the things that I just want to raise real quickly, so with the advent of the Affordable Care Act, what people call Obamacare, private insurance companies are able to offer Medicare coverage. So when
I think this is something we need to talk about in great length because I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I want to tell you, ever since you educated me a little bit about that, and I have been looking at the Medicare that my clients have, because quite often now, Lorenzo, with the changes in auto law, some people who have Medicare Part A and Part B can opt out of buying medical in their car insurance and therefore save money. And so you have to use Medicare Part A and Part B to send them to doctors who take Medicare and Part A and Part B. And boy, what a disaster this is.
Yes.
What a huge disaster from not enough doctors who take that kind of Medicare Part A to Part B to services not covered, to delays, it is a disaster. A disaster.
Well, in my 30 plus years of the legal profession, experience in the legal profession, I have never once seen any type of amendment to the insurance law or auto law ever help the individual. It's always helped the insurance company. No changes to the auto laws in Michigan have ever helped the individual, in my opinion.
So, Lorenzo, what can you tell us very briefly? We can take the time to introduce the subject today. Yeah. So are you telling me that not every Medicare Part A and Part B are equal? Yes. They're not all equal.
I guess what I am saying is that now what has happened is now that the government is trying to get out of the insurance business. They want to get out of being Medicare providers, and that's what the goal
with Obamacare
of this was.
They wanted.
I'm sorry, they what? I didn't hear what you said.
Under Obamacare, they wanted to be in the business.
Well, they wanted to allow it to private insurance companies. So they wanted to try to shift the burden to private insurance companies. And so when private insurance companies had this opportunity, they saw an opportunity to get more clients to sign up with them. And the way they do that is by offering more for the same amount of money. So generally, you can get better coverage with private Medicare than you can with government Medicare.
Okay, so if I am 65, let's say, and I have Medicare Part A and Part B through the government,
yes,
but I want to reach out to a private insurance company to offer me better Medicare Part A and Part B and not pay for it or not pay more than I'm already paying through the government. Yes, I can do that.
Yes, in most circumstances. So each company offers a little bit different coverages. So depending on what type of medications you get, what type of doctors you see, what type of treatment you get, one company may offer a better option for you than another company where you will have lower copays, lower premiums and things like that based on the type of treatment you get versus another private insurance carrier or public Medicare. So not always does it work that way, but it's worthwhile to investigate it and look at the types of bills and the types of treatment that you get. And most often you can find a particular private carrier that is tailored to your needs and will provide better coverage at the same rate than public
Medicare.
Yeah.
So forgive me for my ignorance. If I have now public Medicare Part A and Part B, who's paying for it for me? The government?
Well, it should be coming out of your Medicare, or you should be billed for. Well, if you're 65, you'll get it. If not, you'll be billed out of your Social Security.
Let's say I'm 65 and I
Yes.
have a Social Security retirement. I've already applied for them, which I
Yes.
can apply as late as 70, right? Age
Yes.
70, because I get more money. But let's say I'm already getting Social Security retirement and I'm over 65 and I have
Yep.
Medicare Part A and Part B. Am I paying anything every month?
Yes, there's
Personally?
a deduction. There's a deduction out of your check every month.
Out of my Social Security retirement?
Yes.
Okay. And then in addition to the deduction, not everything is covered by Medicare Part A and Part B. Sometimes you have to pay a copay on a medication. Sometimes there is a deductible. Are there annual deductibles, like with private health insurance, a $2,000, I don't know, depending on what your employer offered you, to $2,500 general deductible on surgeries, $5,000 on I don't know what. Is there something a little bit similar with Medicare Part A and Part B?
I don't know well enough to say for certain, so I don't want to give the wrong
But generally,
information.
yes. Generally, yes. There are copays and
Yeah.
stuff.
Generally, the answer is yes.
Okay. Now, am I right in saying that not a lot of doctors do not take the public Medicare, right? Not every doctor.
That is correct. There are
Okay.
limited amount of doctors that take Medicare, and there are a limited amount of doctors that take Medicaid.
Okay. And did I hear you correctly when you said approach private health insurances with your situation? Here, this is my situation. I have high blood pressure. I take this medication. I have this pre-existing injury. I am healthy, whatever the case may be, and shop among the different private health insurances that offer Medicare Part A and Part B, because you may find a plan with these private insurance companies that offers you a more advantageous for you Part A and Part B. I may be able to find a private insurance company that has a $20 copay on a medication I get versus the $50 copay that I am paying right now under public Medicare, right?
Precisely. That's exactly why it's beneficial. Yes.
Okay. I may be able to shop for private for Medicare Part A and Part B through private health insurance companies that gives me a bigger choice of doctors, or no?
Yes. So, for example, and I'll use my mother as an example. My mother is about to turn 90 years old, and she was on Medicare, public Medicare. And then we had her switched over to Blue Cross and Blue Shield. And Medicare. Blue Cross and Blue Shield, Medicare. And so all the Blue Cross and Blue Shield doctors in their program are signed up for that. So when she walks into the doctor, she does not give them a Medicare card. She gives them her Blue Cross card. And
so she enjoys the benefit.
Exactly. Yes.
And we know Blue Cross Blue Shield is, I believe, in the land of bad insurances, the best insurance available. Yeah. so that means she has access to that huge, roster of doctors available through Blue Cross Blue Shield, because to them, she is Blue Cross Blue Shield, although she's really Medicare.
Correct. And then these private insurance companies can also offer, for an additional price, obviously, additional coverages. So you can get more than your basic Medicare A and B if you purchase additional. So they give you those options.
Okay, and these options may be good for you.
Exactly.
Instead of being stuck, because Medicare Part A and Part B through the government is what it is. There is no a la carte. You get what you get. These are your copays. These are your limited doctors. But when you shop with a private insurance company for private Medicare Part A and Part B, depending on what your needs are, you may either save money or have access to a lot more doctors, or there may be something on their plan, a little something a la carte on their plan that for you is worth paying an extra $10 a month or something like that.
Yes.
And
so
the money
options.
Okay, and that money, even through a private health insurance, still goes from your Social Security retirement money or your SSD money?
Yes, you could have it deducted directly out, or you can make payments over and above. They'll send you a bill every month or every quarter, however you want to make arrangements. But yes.
Okay, so if you don't mind me asking, using your mother as an example,
Yes.
not only when you switched her to Blue Cross Blue Shield Medicare Part A and Part B, now she has access to that huge roster of doctors who will roll the red carpet for her, because to them she is Blue Cross Blue Shield, not Medicare, and there are many more of them, so you're giving her a lot of options. Has she saved any money by switching?
Well, and let me explain quickly. So the reason we did that switch was primarily for what you said. Originally, her primary care doctor accepted Medicare, but then her doctor decided not to. So it was at that time that we decided to switch her over to Blue Cross. What we did do is we purchased additional insurance for her as well, because she was getting older and she was encountering a lot more medical problems. So the reality of it is we ended up spending more, but that was because we purchased additional insurance.
But Lorenzo, this is a good thing if one can afford it, because otherwise you are stuck with just what public Medicare Part A and Part B offers. You have no choice. But when you switch by dealing with a private insurance company, there may be something else. Yes, for an additional, is it very expensive, by the way, because she's 90? Is it fair to
No, it doesn't change. It actually, it's cost beneficial, actually. And again, I think that's why a lot of people have arguments both one way or another about Obamacare or the Affordable Care Act. And there's some good and some bad to it. But one of the good things of it is these extra access to benefits that are very affordable. Now, obviously, what is affordable, that can be different to different people. But I do think in the overall gist of things and compared to other benefits, these additional benefits that you can sign up for are generally very well priced.
Okay, so if she hadn't switched, putting aside the fact that her primary care no longer took Medicare or does not take Medicare, so she felt she wanted to keep him, and one way to do it is by switching to Blue Cross Blue Shield Medicare. But other than that, it is very possible that she needed a service that under public Medicare Part A and Part B, she would have had to pay 100% out of pocket because it's not covered. But now, by switching her to private Blue Cross Medicare Part A and Part B, she's paying a little bit, but she's saving a lot because it's a service she needed and she would have paid for 100%.
Yes, it's just overall, it's just a much better coverage for her in all ways.
I think we should devote a whole, I can tell you that I myself, and I am more in the know, let's say, than a lot of other people. And I myself have had very little knowledge about this. I have had very, very little knowledge. I know the frustrations of enrolling in Obamacare and the marketplace, and I've heard about that, but I have not heard about the benefits of Obamacare, which is that it now allows you to buy Medicare Part A and Part B or to customize it outside the government, and you are likely to get a much better plan that suits you. So one should, if somebody's listening right now, and I can assure you a very large number of our listeners have Medicare, if they are interested in investigating this, what is the first step they take? Do they pick up the phone and call the Blue Cross Blue Shield of the world?
Well, they can pick up the phone, and you've probably seen a lot of these commercials on TV. It's called Medicare Advantage.
Yes,
and
I have.
That's what these companies are advertising. They are insurance brokers that are trying to people who are on Medicare to see if they can find them better coverage or additional coverage for similar prices or better prices, or if they're interested in purchasing additional or extra coverage. Obviously, there'll be an additional fee for those things, but that's who you call. You call these insurance brokers.
Okay,
and there's several of them, yes.
I apologize. I keep interrupting. You got me so excited. So you call an insurance broker is what you do. You don't necessarily call Medicare Advantage. You call an insurance broker.
Correct.
Okay. Understood. And the insurance brokers, these are not car insurance brokers. Are they specific kind health insurance brokers, or what do we call them?
Well, generally, you want to talk to somebody that is familiar with Medicare Advantage, because that means they're dealing primarily with Medicare public and private benefits. Now, some insurance companies will handle that, but that's, that is a specialized area outside of, say, automobile insurance or homeowners insurance or those type of things. So not everyone will do that type of consultation.
Okay. And if someone were to call an insurance broker to determine whether they are the right person to switch to private Medicare, how long does that consultation normally take?
It depends. It usually takes about 30 minutes. I think they can get the gist of the information in 30 minutes. Sometimes it could take longer.
Okay. Thank you for this education, because this is I can speak from firsthand experience. I think that almost every one of my clients has public Medicare, Part A and Part B, and it is killing their auto accident cases because we can't find doctors to send them to. We have to wait months and months before they are allowed to do a test. It is killing people who are otherwise injured and who need to treat timely and test. It is killing their cases because of the kind of Medicare that they do have. So I can speak from firsthand experience because we are encountering it.
Yes, I would agree.
Thank you very much. These are extremely important, very helpful points. Okay. Is there, to your knowledge, is there like a questionnaire that one can go through? Rami, I'm so sorry. I know we forgot about our listener, and if he is still on the phone, I'm happy. Okay, we lost her. If you would like to call again, I apologize wholeheartedly, but I want to encourage the listeners, anyone who is interested in this, in looking, in consulting for switching and to find out if they are the right kind of person to switch from public to private, they can call our office and I think I can direct them. So normally a consultation takes about 30 minutes. And is there a set of questionnaires that one can help, maybe my clients fill out so that we can see, or no?
I'm not aware of one off the top of my head. I could obviously look into that and get back to you on that. But
no problem.
Generally what they need to know is their age, the different types of medical conditions they suffer from, what types of medications they take, the types of doctors they see. So if they see specialists, you see a nephrologist, you see an oncologist, you see a psychiatrist. So those are different types of procedures, different types of generalized medical approaches. So that will give the broker an idea of the types of medical expenses you're going to incur. And that way they can try to tailor the program to best suit your needs.
Okay, so age, types of doctors needed, conditions, and medications.
Yes, I think those would be the general areas that they would need to know.
Okay, thank you very much. We apologize to the listener who has been extremely patient. I don't know if her name is Laura or Lara. Laura, we are very sorry.
Hi, Laura.
Go ahead, please.
Hi, good afternoon.
Hello, Laura.
Hi, I have a situation. I was listening and just wanted to ask some questions. I have a loved one who was injured in a car accident a while back. But I'm dealing with actually the Medicare they have to pay out of pocket because they've never worked in the U.S. And you mentioned something because I know the law changed back in July. So is there any way I can get rid of the Medicare that they're paying out of pocket, almost $800 a month, and find another insurance for them?
Lorenzo, allow me to answer the first part and you will answer the second part. As to the first part, Laura, and am I calling you correctly, Laura?
Yes, you are.
Okay. it seems that your relative, and I'm sorry for the loss, it seems that your relative elected car insurance where he opted out of medical coverage through the car insurance because he has public Medicare Part A and Part B. Am I correct?
No, because my loved one was injured in a car accident. So auto covers for health care, but I was told that a while back they have to, by law, have a secondary insurance. And the only insurance that by law I could get for them was the Medicare, but they have to pay for it.
Hold on a minute. Who told you by law they need to have secondary insurance?
Because if something happens that's not related to auto, they have no insurance.
Okay. You're talking about outside of treatment for the car accident.
Absolutely correct.
Okay, so
my option was only Medicare.
All right, so if I understand you correctly, for his treatment for the car accident, he has a car insurance company that will cover that, correct?
Absolutely, auto is covering everything.
You're asking about his treatment outside of a car accident, something not related, correct?
Correct, and she does have Medicare.
Okay, and if I hear you correctly, this is exactly what Attorney Lorenzo D'Agostini was talking about and how he used his mother as an example. So you are complaining about the cost of Medicare Part A and Part B that is not covered by public Medicare Part A and Part B, correct?
Absolutely correct.
So you want to see if there is a cheaper way for him to have Medicare Part A and Part B, but pay less money.
Absolutely.
And this is exactly what Attorney Lorenzo D'Agostini was talking about when he said, one of the benefits of Obamacare is that now a private health insurance company can offer you Medicare Part A and Part B, and he is not promising it's always cheaper. You have to sit and do a consultation. You know, your dad has to tell them, you know, his age, what his medications are, what his conditions are, what type of doctors. Okay. And then an insurance broker will let him know if by switching him to, say, Blue Cross Blue Shield Medicare, he will save money.
Okay,
Lorenzo?
So how do I find this insurance broker? Because Attorney Lorenzo mentioned they have to be know something about Medicare Advantage.
Can I ask you a favor? Would you be so kind to call my office? I can direct you.
Oh, yeah, of course. Now, second question and last question.
Laura, I was going to say, if you'd like, I can give you a number off the air. I can have you call, and a person that I know that can handle this for you if you're interested.
Oh, yeah, I'll write it down right now. Give me 1 second, please. Go right ahead.
Well, so I don't know, Jumana, if I should do that over the air, but I can recommend somebody at some point in time.
Laura, if you don't mind, if you would be so kind to call my office as soon as this show is done, and Attorney Lorenzo D'Agostini will share the number and we will give it to you.
Sure, absolutely. I don't mind. Now, I have an attorney I have a question. I'm sorry. Someone that has
Go ahead.
Money
you
in
have
an account,
5 minutes.
Yep. Someone has money in an account and is trying to purchase a property. Will they qualify for SSI right away, or that does not make them qualify as purchasing a house to get rid of that money?
Well, that money has to be spent first. So if the money is in a bank account or in any other type of holding account, that's going to work against you until that money is spent on a house. Now, so the house that you live in, the house that the individual lives in, is exempt from the assets test. So in other words, once you buy that house, if you live in that house will not account against your assets. But if there's money in a bank waiting to pay for that house, that money will count against you.
Is there any way I can contact you, not on air, and speak to you?
Absolutely. That's very easy.
Perfect.
I can give you
your number?
My direct phone number, or you can call, better yet, call Jumana's office, and they can give you my number, or they can direct you to me.
And since you have to call Laura for that number for your dad, you can get his number, and we can connect you with him.
we can consult on any questions you may have.
Appreciate it. Can I please have your number, Jumana?
Of course, it is 248-557-3645.
I will contact you right after the show.
And Laura, can I just confirm one thing? The loved one that you have, you're sure they're on Medicare and not on Medicaid?
No, they don't qualify for Medicaid. It's only Medicare Part A and B, and it's like $800 a month.
Okay. All right.
But there's a lot more involved.
Hopefully
we can
help
speak to you. Right, perfect. Okay.
Let me ask you a quick question, Laura.
Sure.
Is he paying the money out of pocket because he does not have enough credit into this country, so he's not getting Social Security retirement? Is he paying it out of his bank account every month?
Absolutely.
Yeah. If you're not receiving Social Security benefits from the government in terms of cash benefits, they have no way to recoup that money, so they will bill you specifically for it.
Absolutely. Right. Because SSI used to, Medicaid used to cover all that, but this person does not qualify for anything due to that money in their account.
Okay.
I appreciate your help. I'll contact you both and we'll go from there.
Wishing you the very best, and thank you for calling in, because it's one thing for Lorenzo and I to talk about the difference between public Medicare and through private, and it's another for someone to call and say, look, I'm paying a lot of money for my loved one, or my loved one is paying a lot of money. Is there a cheaper way? And there may or may not be, but it's a consultation. You will only know when you consult with an insurance broker who is familiarized and who will get the specific circumstances of surrounding your father's medical condition and determine if switching is cheaper. And even if, Attorney Lorenzo D'Agostini, even if switching is not cheaper but it's the same, but you switch, say, from public Medicare and Medicare Part A and Part B, where hardly any doctor will take you, to Blue Cross Medicare Part A and Part B, is already a huge advantage. You're not saving money, but you're opening yourself to a lot more choices.
Yes. So in my opinion, there's almost always an advantage of some kind.
Yeah. Would it be all right if we devoted a whole topic to this show? Because I'm telling you, Lorenzo, if I know very little about it, I can only imagine the rest of the community.
Well, I think it would be a great idea, but I'm not sure I would be the best person for that. But
maybe
someone
you can
I might be able to recommend. Who would
maybe
be
somebody you can connect us with who will educate our community?
Yes, very much.
Okay,
so.
That would be wonderful. And I do apologize to the listeners because we started by wanting to, again, talk about benefits available to people who are widowed and benefits available, so we're talking about SSD, and benefits available to people who are divorced, and we didn't talk about them. So
we have
maybe
a
next
topic
time,
for our next show. Yeah,
we definitely have the topic for our next show.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Attorney Lorenzo D'Agostini. We very much appreciate everything you teach us and all your knowledge. Rami, thank you. Thank you to our listeners. Thank you, Laura, for calling and contributing to this show.
شكرا جومانا.
Thank you,
Lorenzo. Thank you so much. وأكيد نشكر لمستمعينا حسن المتابعة، على أمل اللقاء بكم في حلقة جديدة في يوم غد إن شاء الله، وعلى الهواء مباشرة. دمتم في رعاية الله وحفظه. إلى اللقاء.